In this video, we're going to be making ourselves a fairly basic skull and crossbone image in Adobe Illustrator. To get started, we're going to go to the File menu and select New, and we're going to call our document Skull and Crossbones. Our profile will be a print profile, as if we wanted to print this document. We'll just have one artboard. The size of our document will be an A4 piece of paper. The width and the height will already be set. And we want a 3mm bleed around our document. Again, I'll talk about bleeds in future tutorials. Our advanced settings need to have CMYK color mode and 300 pixels per inch resolution. Click OK once you've got that and you'll see your white artboard appear on your page. First thing we need to do is color this artboard in black. So we're going to pop over to our shapes and make sure we've got the rectangle tool selected. We can press the letter M for the keyboard shortcut. Go up the top to your fill bucket color, and we want it as black for the fill color. And for the stroke, which is the border, we're going to say none. And what I want you to do is click in the top corner on the bleed and drag all the way to the bottom corner of the bleed and color in a black artboard. Using your black arrow, which is the selection tool, just click off that now. We don't want that selected, so if it's selected you'll have a blue line around it. Just click off it so it's deselected. Now we want to begin today by drawing ourselves a circle, which is going to be the head of the skull. So grab your ellipse tool, or the keyboard shortcut is the letter L. Change your fill color to white, and we're going to draw a big circle up here. Now I want that circle in the middle of the page. Okay, and if you hover your mouse around the center of the page, you'll see this green line appear, which is a smart guide. That's Illustrator telling you, yep, you've found the center of the page. If I was to draw the circle now while holding Shift to get the perfect circle, it would go off to one side. And I actually want that in the center. So I'm going to undo that and find the middle again. This time when I draw my circle, I'm going to hold the Alt key, which will allow me to draw from the center of that point. If I hold Shift at the same time, I end up with a perfect circle. So get yourself a perfect circle drawn in the center of the page. That might be a little bit too big, so I might just do that again. Now that size is going to look good. And the next shape we want to do the mouth of the skull is a rounded rectangle. We just want slightly rounded edges. So when you draw this, I'm just going to hover up here. I want to get it pretty much in the center again. You're just going to have to guess this one. You can press the up and down keys to get different rounded points. You don't want very rounded corners on this. Somewhere about there will probably look pretty good. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's not too bad at all. Now, as you can see when I hover over these, we've got two different shapes here. What we can do in Illustrator is actually join these shapes together to make it one big shape. So with your selection tool, the black arrow, click on the circle once, hold Shift, and then click on the rounded rectangle so that they're both selected. Now pop on over to your tools here, and I want you to grab the Shape Builder tool, which looks like this. You can press Shift plus M for the keyboard shortcut. It's like two little circles and an arrow on top of it. Now if you click and drag over the top of these shapes, it will join them together, and you can see by the shaded areas which parts are going to be joined together to make one big shape. When you let go now, we've just got one big shape, which is the head of the skull. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a mouth on this skull. So let's grab our rectangle tool for that. We're going to go to black for our fill color, and we're going to go roughly with the top of this point here. Going to come in a bit. You're just going to have to guess this. We want it roughly in the center with the same amount of space around each side. So about there is going to look pretty good. Okay, you can use your arrow keys if you need to nudge it around a little bit. I'll hover my mouse over that, so that's pretty much the center right there. Now the next thing we need to do is use the ellipse tool again to draw some eyes. We want them pretty much lined up with this path here, so up around here. Maybe the edge of the mouth would look good too, so somewhere around there. Now I'm not going to hold Shift for this, I'm just going to draw on an eye. Now, instead of copying and pasting this eye, there's another way to duplicate it. What I'm going to do is hold down on the Control key. The Alt key. When you've got the Alt key held down, you will see a second white mouse cursor appear underneath or over the top of your black one. So I'm going to click and drag now, and that duplicates that eye. So now we've got two eyes, and you can move them into position. You want them pretty much side by side, and just a small width apart. Well, it doesn't look too bad, is it? Pretty much centered right there. Yep, so that looks good. For the nose, we want to use a triangle for the nose. So you can either use the polygon or the star tool for that. So I'm just going to use the star tool in this case. When I draw my star, I've got a lot of sides on that still from a previous tutorial, so I'm going to press the down arrow and just reduce the number of sides until I get down to a triangle. I'm going to have to hold control here and scroll around a bit too until I get a nice triangle. We'll need to use the selection tool to rotate this. We want the pointy bit at the top. We want that pretty much centered as well. I'll move these eyes down a little bit. I think the nose is a little bit too big, so I'll make that a bit smaller. Okay, so that's looking pretty good for a face now. With the rectangle tool again, we're going to start to draw these bones that go down the bottom. So I'm going to go back to my rectangle tool, change the fill color to white once more. I'm going to draw like a long skinny rectangle. Looks something like that. Then I'm going to go back to the ellipse tool. I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to draw a circle that goes over the edge of that, just like a bone, end of a bone. With my selection tool now, the black arrow, I'm going to hold down Alt and click and drag on that circle so I can duplicate that circle. Now you can start to see we've got like the end of the bone. If I highlight both of these by holding down shift and clicking on them, I'm going to Alt and click and drag across to the other side of the bone. Make sure they're in line with the other ones. Okay, you can hold shift if you want to keep it perfectly in line and drop them into place. And now we've got a nice looking bone. What I recommend doing is highlighting those bones so they're all selected there and using the shape builder tool to join them all together. It may take a little while to get them all together. And there we go. Oop, almost. There we go. Now we've got one big shape. Okay, so they're not going to fall apart on me. That bone is one big shape now. Now I want to have two bones, so I'm going to hold down Alt again and drag off that bone, so we've got two of them. And while I've got these bones selected, I'm going to hold Shift, hover just off one of the edges and rotate it once. Do the same with the other bone, click on it, hold Shift and rotate it once the other way. Okay. Now I just have to pretty much get these in the center. I need a bit of trial and error, I think, until we get it right. That could take a while. Another quick way to do this, because that does look a little bit funny at the moment, is go up to your view menu and select rulers, which is down here. We just want to show the rulers. Control R is the shortcut. I might drag a ruler down to the top of these bones, make sure they're all lined up. So they are lined up pretty well there at the moment, which is good. Might just need to move them around a little bit until we get them crossing in the center. That looks a bit better. Just get rid of that guide. You can click on that guide and press delete to get rid of it. Okay, they're a little bit high still, so I might move them down a bit, nudge them down with my arrow keys. And they're probably not quite centered, so I'll just nudge them across a bit. We get them in the center. There we go. So the head's a little bit big, a little bit deformed, but I think the rest of it looks okay. So that's how we draw a fairly simple skull and crossbone in Adobe Illustrator. You can go to File, save it as an AI document if you're finished with it for now.